Greetings, good people, and respect to the Puyallup tribe and Coast Salish peoples. My name is Les Pogue Jr., and I am a liberation influencer, working with several organizations here in Pierce County. It has been a pleasure to work on this project to lift up in honor and to recognize the life's work of Brother Dr. Warren M. Washington, and to present this beautiful offering of African American scientific achievement during this celebration of Black History Month 2022. This work shows what can be achieved by a collaborative effort involving social, legal, environmental, and climate justice organizations, with goals of moving forward to address those concerns and recognize the excellent contributions of Black pioneers such as Dr. Washington, in an effort to bring equitable outcomes in our education institutions, as well as to diversify the environmental justice movement. Gratitude to Evergreen State College, Tacoma, for providing this blessed space for the unveiling of this wonderful piece of art and history constructed by Miss Aisha Harrison. Aisha will be sharing her inspiration for this piece, and we will hear from Dr. Washington's family members. Again, thank you, Evergreen, and all the participants that helped to make this tribute a reality. Peace, love, and liberation. Next up, Dr. Arunga.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Evergreen State College, Tacoma, I want to welcome all of you to our building, this 1-block radius of which you have seen our founder, Dr. Maxine Mims, who will turn 94 years young in another week, is our founder, and we were brought to Evergreen State College in the Hilltop to be a beacon of hope. And we see ourselves as people who can be the hub where such beautiful scientists, figures in our history, in particular African Americans, can come and be celebrated in our building. And we just want to honor that. We have, as you can see behind us, the Sankofa bird, which is on the drawing behind us, is our emblem. And that bird says that in order for you to know where you are going, you first have to know where you have come from. And this is the way we approach our learning here. This is the way we approach our community. And so we are so honored to have this unveiling occur in our building, because we believe that this is a place that draws the scientists, the great African American figures in our history that we should have been celebrating all along. And we are just here so that we can have this opportunity to celebrate and commemorate our great artists, our great scientists. And so for Warren M. Washington, I just want to say he represents all of the beautiful work done by African American scientists who were not recognized. And today we get to recognize one who was recognized by several presidents of the United States of America. So we know this is a man who stands tall, has done his work well. And I'd like to just take an opportunity to introduce you shortly to our own faculty, our environmentalist, Dr. Tyrus Smith. Just say hello. He wanted to make sure he was here today as our representative scientist. And we also have our mathematician among us, Dr. Paul McCrary. Thank you for being here. So just know that our faculty, our school is so proud to be the place where this unveiling will take place. And we want to once again just welcome all of you. Please come regularly. We understand that the bust will be here for about a month, and so you must feel free to come at all times. Let me also say a word about the beautiful African art you see that is draped our stage. This is art that was brought by our own student, Karen Akuye Vargas. Thank you, Karen, for bringing it all the way from Kitsap County. Yes. And she has taken it upon herself to deliver this art in different locations around the state on behalf of Black History Month. And so now that we are celebrating Dr. Washington, we are so grateful to have art that is ancient and art that is, what I will say, emerging. And just cannot be more honored to welcome Aisha Harrison, the artist of this particular work. And I have to tell you, the last time she was in this building, we had an amazing art therapy session in which every student professes they were changed. And I want to thank you for that, and I've been looking for you ever since. So I'm so excited that you are in our building, and your role will be the next role to unveil this lovely artwork. So once again, thank you for being here, and welcome.
Miss Aisha Harrison.
Hi, I guess I can take this off. Just for a minute. I won't breathe too much. All right. Wow, thank you all for coming. I feel really honored to have this piece here and to be asked to even make this piece in the first place. Doing some research about Warren, as I've said in a lot of places, like I feel very close to Warren as I looked at his face for so long. But Dr. Warren Washington. I just feel very honored to have been able to make a bust of him. I feel like we need some new monuments. We need to honor the pioneers and the people coming up. So that's sort of part of my work. And so I feel like this is just exactly in line with what I want to do. And I also want to say that I feel very moved. I was like in tears when I saw the piece in front of all of these pieces behind it, because it just, I know that I'm part of a stream, right? I'm part of a long line of artists, artists who make figurative work, artists who make people, artists who have sculptures who are embodied. And I know I come from that lineage, from that long line. But I've never seen my work, I've never seen my work with this other work. I've seen this work in museums, and that's it. It doesn't belong in museums, you know? And so I just feel like I got here early, and I just feel so lucky that I got here early, and I got to look at these pieces and help, figure out how they should go, and I just feel really moved that not only is my sculpture at Evergreen, Tacoma, which I think is very, it's very an important place, and not only that, but it's also with these sculptures. So I feel like we've got the past, the present, both here, right? The past, the present, both here, and the past and the present and the future. And I feel like we're all moving. So thank you very much.
Yes.
Oh, the unveiling.
Oh, was I supposed to do that? I didn't know I was do that. All right. We're going backwards.
What an honor, folks. As I was writing something up to speak today and do this presentation, I looked back on my career as a carpenter of 37 years. And I recognized that I was in connection with Dr. Washington when I started as a carpenter at 17 years old in 1985, because I started thinking back when I saw the rendition, just the photo of what Aisha had put together with the weather patterns and the streams that are on the sculpture, that was what was present when I would look at the weather every day before I went out to work to check to see where the rain was, blah, 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 before Doppler radar was present. And once I saw that, and I saw the explanation of the video that Aisha put together, I was like, there's my connection with this brother that brought this climate science to us. And with our presence in this movement, in the environmental justice work that we do, climate justice work we do, we don't see a lot of folks like us. You know, I know Oneida and Barb and, you know, folks of color, Miss Kimmerling. We all sit up here and we do these presentations and we speak at these events. And now we have a sort of something to back us up, you know, and that's why I appreciate this work so much. And next up, we have Nakanee is going to come up here and share some words with us. Thank you.
Hello. I'm Nakanee. I'm just a local poet. I'm going to share 2 poems with you. The first one's called Listen, and the second one is called Here There Be Dragons. The second one is new, so please thank you for your patience with my mistakes on that one. So it's a lot of intersectionality and racial justice and how I have internalized all of that. So listen. Listen. Can you not hear the past echoes coming from our throats? We are choked and we are suffocating. Still advocating for ancient blasphemies and trafficking, the tragedy of souls by the soulless. Made homeless, then controlled us, left alone in a sea of apathy. They sound like screams, like the roar of collective dreams, unheard on repeat. Always the frequencies reverberate upon frigid mountaintops as if the screams were merely a breeze, an afterthought, an imperfect black spot on the snow that maddens, though no blot can stop the avalanche your hell hath wrought, for all your treasures were paid and bought with those screams, with those dreams, then hoarded by dragons who own the word free. Those worship fiendish beasts have pulled sheep's wool, used cheap tools to blind you, but are you deafened too, learn no lessons through songs and stories consumed like cannibals? Careful to whom you refer as animals, for if you cannot hear them, the animal is you. And this is kind of a continuation of that. They're kind of related. You can consider this a part 2. It's called Here There Be Dragons. Our cities glitter in the distance, though I know all that glitters is not gold. If they were gold, those cities, no matter how pretty, would be mine, to and fro, back and forth we go, excavate the ruins of ourselves. Mine and yours would dig and dig deep enough to build a well-intentioned path to hell. 1 foot, then the other into the grave. Mistakes were made as dragons taught us that life itself is the treasure. But to a dragon, a treasure is made for taking, exploitation made forsaken in homelands. A dragon teaches what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine, so mine and mine and mine and mine until gold turns to blood and earth turns to smoke, and how are you not choking on all of this? Pollution, industrial neglect, I can't breathe enough to object. See how it all connects, how short-sighted a dragon is. Because the path that we built will soon go both ways. Hellish gate, titans free, dragons ever slumbering. True monsters await at the end of the path, and we are their final offering. From up on high, despite rising tides and the devastating truth of Mother Nature's might, dragons still choose human suffering. And to them, when the whole world's on fire, shining bright like diamonds, the sacrifice will be worth the glittering recovery. And when those fires, greed and desire take us ever higher towards their pinnacle, the marketed grind lie, the truth of what it means to be human, pigeonholed in the cynical poison of our choosing, we must ask ourselves, if here there be dragons and dragons have souls, how aren't their souls the ones worth losing, when they're the ones refusing and we're the ones bruising at the end of the day? So yes, indeed, if here there be dragons, isn't it time that we rise up and slay? Thank you very much.
Next up is Erin from New Generation 2.0.
Hello. Well, thank you guys. That was some amazing speeches. So I hope I do as great as you guys did. So thank you guys for that. So today we gather here to reveal a sculpture of an inspiring man. A man who spent a lifetime pursuing knowledge to educate himself, the community, and the world. Because of his time, his sacrifices, and hard work, he has given inspiration to many generations to come. So today we give thanks to Dr. Warren Washington for the many years of research in climate. So today we give thanks to Dr. Washington for creating the first climate model. This groundbreaking development helped scientists generations after Warren to understand the climate. The work Dr. Warren has accomplished has inspired many African Americans. His inspiration is here to be celebrated. Now, how does that tie into me and the new generation 2.0? Well, to be honest, I'm only 25, and I kind of live in a bubble, like most people my age. And we're on social media a lot, and we're kind of just, worrying about like, are we gonna be famous? What our clothing, what we're wearing, just, what people say about our generation. So as I got into this work to improve Black lives, we're out here fighting against police brutality and just improving our community, the topic came up with climate. And a lot of people looked at me and said, what does climate have to do with Black lives? And I thought, well, I don't know, but this organization that is helping us and standing at the front lines, whenever we call on them, they're coming to fight, so we're coming to fight with them. And that's kind of how we got involved. You can't honor one organization and not recognize every other organization. We all cross paths eventually if we're really fighting for change. Then I realized, well, it's about air. I have to breathe air, right? So that's how we realized that climate justice is Black justice. There's a lot going on in these communities where Black people are living, where we're having the worst climate, like fossil fuels, and unfortunately, a lot of us don't know about that. So I'm here to bridge that gap between the new generation and the old, to get educated from the people before me so I can educate people like me our way. We might not take what you guys tell us. We might go through one year and out the other. So I've been trying to find ways to make things inspiring and fun for people my age. And one of the great ideas here is to have Mr. Warren traveling, and you find him and you take a selfie and you post it on Facebook or Instagram and you tag us and you get to enter a competition. So it's basically like Where's Waldo, but Where's Warren? So we hope you guys enjoy finding Mr. Dr. Warren all around Tacoma. Who knows, maybe out of state, we don't know. We might have to get him a flight or a passport. But thank you to everybody who was here, who helped make this happen, to the many organizations that sat down and was at the meetings, because I know I missed a few. But I appreciate you guys. This is inspiring, and to be a part of this and to have this during Black History Month, we thank you. We thank every organization that spent time, the artists, of course, and the family, and everyone who made this possible. So thank you guys. Keep on doing what you're doing. I know the youth doesn't seem like some of us aren't listening, but some of us are, and we'll make a way.
All right.
Erin, I appreciate what you just touched on right there. A generational translator in all these movements for justice. Respect to y'all. I appreciate your work. So next up is a warrior in this battle for climate justice and environmental justice, Miss Barb Church.
Well, thank you. I guess I'm representing the older generation here. Thank you, Erin. So I've lived in Tacoma for over 50 years. I remember going to the bay and fishing, and back then there were so many fish. It was so abundant that you could have 2 barbs on your hook, and I remember catching 2 fish on one hook one time. And I remember going to the mountains and drinking out of the river streams and looking outside and seeing how crisp the air was. And that's all changed. And I so much appreciate and so much honor Dr. Washington for all of his work. In 2018, the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change said we only had 12 years before there would be dire climate consequences. We're seeing those dire consequences today. We see heat domes, we see firestorms, animals are going extinct, and fishing runs are diminishing. As we honor the work of Dr. Washington as a global science leader in climate change, I'd like to share some of the racial impacts of ignoring the climate science here in Tacoma. Tacoma continues to be a target for polluting industry and fossil fuel expansion, a major contributor to climate change. These projects fit into a pattern of systemic racism that has been going on in our country for hundreds of years. These century-old patterns about how whites have taken away the means from people of color and indigenous communities, both legally and illegally, continue. It just requires turning a blind eye to people who have purposefully been marginalized and their culture diminished for economic profit. This is what the local fossil fuel industries, as well as state permitting agencies, have done here in Tacoma. The narrow economic view of Puget Sound Energy's liquefied natural gas refinery, for example, failed to see how this project has racial impact on the Puyallup tribe's culture and people of color staying in the Northwest Detention Center. Time after time, governments have figured out ways to extinguish Native Americans' claims to their own homelands. As we saw with the liquefied natural gas refinery, just last year, Puget Sound Energy was able to use 2007 data on greenhouse gas emissions to permit that project. Had they used current data, it wouldn't have been permitted. This is common in BIPOC communities all over our country. One of my favorite quotes, and as I was reading an article in the Sierra Club, is that you can't have climate without sacrifice zones. You can't have sacrifice zones without disposable people, and you can't have disposable people without racism. Listen to the climate science. Our very existence is dependent upon it. Thank you, Dr. Washington, for all your historical contributions as a global leader in science change. And it's really an honor to be asked to speak here, even though when I was asked, I was a little nervous, but thank you, it's an honor.
Thank you very much. Whenever we gather for occasions like this, it is very important that we acknowledge whose land we are on. And so we'd like to really pay homage to the ancestors of the Puyallup people whose land this is. We also want to acknowledge the Squaxin people in Olympia, where the Evergreen State College is originally figured. And just acknowledge that there were people here before we came, and they were the stewards, the original stewards of this land, and we need to acknowledge them and thank them. Because this is Black History Month, I also want to pour a libation, just a simple libation in the tradition of African American people, acknowledging that we too stand on the shoulders of those who come before us, and that in the African tradition, we don't know borders. We don't understand that we are American and that there's another border that is another place, but rather we are in the world and that we are without borders. And so I want to really acknowledge, in the words of Dr. Bernice Johnson Regan, a very important cultural custodian, who said, "To the spirit of those named and unnamed who stood and struggled before us and beside us, we offer this libation." We offer this praise. Ashe. Ashe. Asheo. And to Dr. Washington and those who came before him, we want to thank his ancestors for bringing him forward and for the grace of what he has brought to us and what he will leave in this environment on our behalf. Thank you, and thank you to his ancestors. Ashe.
And I want to thank Evergreen State College again for holding this. When I walked in and I saw all this, it hit me in my soul. Yeah, connection with the ancestors is real. Next up, I'd like to bring Janeen Provazek, who is a representative of the Conversation and 350 Tacoma.
Whoa, this has been incredibly touching. First of all, I just want to thank everyone that came up here and spoke from your heart and spoke to the truth. That was very powerful. And I'm also had promised Dr. Washington that I would personally thank him. So Dr. Washington, this is Janeen, who has been bugging you with emails and phone calls. And hello, I wish you were here. I wish your wife was here, but you are with us in spirit. It is a pleasure. Pardon? Oh, it is a pleasure to honor you, Dr. Washington, for your incredible pioneering work. We thank you for supporting us in this project. When I first reached out to Dr. Washington, he said, I am honored and go for it. And that's what we've done. I also want to acknowledge and thank Dr. Washington's family members, his stepson, Quentin Hunt, over there, and
Yes.
his wife, Carmen Hunt. I want to acknowledge and thank Aisha Harrison, because I think your unique artistry was so perfect in capturing Dr. Washington and his work. I couldn't have imagined anything more beautiful and perfect for this. I also want to thank all of you who came here today, for those who helped with the ideas, the planning, the donating, and helping construct this beautiful base. I think that was Dan and Les. Oh, this beautiful base. You know, this doesn't look bad either. That beautiful base.
Yes.
And I want to acknowledge again, thank you, Dean, for letting us have our opening here. And finally, I want to thank Dan Villa, who's usually behind the camera or sitting on the floor. Because it was he who came up with this idea and kind of spearheaded this journey, which it has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Now, for those of you who haven't been able to check out the whole sculpture, we're going to move it forward a little bit so that folks can walk around, because it's a 360 degrees, involved interpretation of this brother, Dr. Washington. So, thank you all for coming today.
Yes.
Thank all the organizations. I was tripping at first. This is off the script right here. But I was tripping at first when I first saw it, because I was trying to figure out what these lines were. And it wasn't, I think maybe I talked about this earlier, but I just want to reiterate it, because when you all see the full breadth of this sculpture, you will I hope you get the same reaction I have, because I want it everywhere I go. I want it at my home. I want it at the project housing where I live, so all these young folks can see this and learn these lessons and get into checking out the climate and get into caring about why you can't catch 2 fish with 2 hooks on your line anymore. Because this brother right here discovered how the climate is actually being affected, and his work is involved in probably assisting us in helping to, repair it as much as we can or deal with it as it is right now, because we are at a crux in our humanity to figure this out. And if we don't, it's going to be, a lot of melted icebergs.
Yes, yes.